My coworker confessed he was having an affair with my girlfriend and the baby she was carrying wasn't mine. I waited until birthday for my revenge. I, 32 male, am trying to keep this as short as I can, but it's a long story, and I need to get it off my chest. I'm heading to the bar as soon as I finish typing this, because I need a stiff drink. Or several. It all started at work. I work in a pretty typical office, and a while back, this guy, Greg, 29 male, started working in a different department. We didn't interact much, just the usual hello in the hallways. One day, though, he came up to my desk, looking really uncomfortable, like he had something heavy on his mind. He asked me, point blank, "Are you Julia's boyfriend?" Now, Julia, 30 female, and I had been together for years. We lived together, shared everything. I was planning on marrying her, I even had plans to ask her, when the time came. So, of course, I said, "Yeah, I am. We've been together for a long time." I was thinking he might have seen a picture of us on social media, or Julia might have told him. Greg's face kind of fell. He mumbled something about feeling guilty, and then he admitted that he and Julia had been, well, seeing each other. He said he didn't know about me, that Julia had never mentioned me. I just stared at him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, sure, things hadn't been perfect with Julia lately, but an affair? It felt completely shocking to me. Then, he pulled out his phone and showed me text messages. Dates, times, everything. It was all there, proof that they'd been together for a whole year. A year of my life, wasted, while she was sneaking around with this guy. The messages weren't just casual, they were intimate. It was undeniable. My head was spinning. I thought I might throw up. But the worst part wasn't even the affair itself. Greg then told me something that completely floored me. He said that Julia was pregnant, and that he was the father. He explained that they had made this agreement. Julia wanted to keep living her life with me, what she was calling our perfect life, and Greg would stay out of it. He wouldn't have to pay child support or anything. He'd just disappear. I was completely stunned. I mean, Julia and I had been trying to have a baby for a while, with no luck. It had been a source of stress for both of us. The idea that she was suddenly pregnant, and with his child, and they had this whole plan, it was insane. The thing is, Greg said he had recently found religion, become a Christian. He said his conscience was eating him up, and he felt his child deserved to know who their real father was. He told me he wasn't very keen on confessing the news, but he was conflicted. He wasn't happy at all with the situation he got himself into, and after a long talk, he decided to confess. I am grateful he did. That is for sure. He wanted to do the right thing, even though he'd messed up badly. Honestly, part of me believed him. He seemed genuinely remorseful. But another part of me was just filled with rage. I asked him to keep it quiet for now. I told him I needed time to process everything. I went home that night feeling like I was in a daze. Everything felt unreal. I remembered how Julia had been acting a little off lately. And the sudden pregnancy, after all our struggles, it made a sickening kind of sense now. Before Greg's confession, there was this little voice in the back of my head, a disturbing feeling that something wasn't right. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was there. Now I knew why. I decided I wouldn't say anything to Julia until after the baby was born. I know it sounds messed up, but I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done. I wanted her to have that moment of thinking everything was perfect, and then have it all come crashing down. So, I left work that day with a plan. A terrible, painful plan, but a plan nonetheless. I am not a bad man, but I do believe I deserve a bit of revenge for what has happened. A few weeks later, Julia went into labor. It was a long, exhausting process, and I was there the whole time, trying to act like a supportive partner, even though my insides were twisting with anger and betrayal. The baby was born, a little girl, and for a split second, I felt that rush of emotion that any new parent feels. But it was immediately replaced by this crushing sadness, knowing that this wasn't my child. Then, things got complicated. Julia had a fever during labor, so they took the baby to the neonatal intensive care unit, NICU, just to be safe. It was a precaution, they said, but it meant I couldn't even hold the baby properly. It just added another layer of frustration to an already horrible situation. Seeing that little baby in the incubator, knowing she wasn't mine, it was heartbreaking. I should have been overjoyed, but all I felt was this hollow emptiness. After a few days, Julia was recovering in her hospital room. She seemed relaxed, happy even. I guess she thought she'd gotten away with it. I started packing my things. Just a few essentials, enough to get by for a while. She looked at me, confused, and asked what I was doing. That's when I told her. I didn't yell or scream. I just said, very calmly, "I know I'm not the baby's father. You should give Greg a call, he will surely sign the birth forms for his own baby." I kept it simple, direct. There was no point in dragging it out. She just stared at me, her mouth wide open. Then, she started to cry, begging me to stay, saying it was all a mistake. But I was done. I walked out of that hospital room, leaving her there with her lies and her newborn baby. I ignored her calls, her texts, everything. As soon as I got outside, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Julia kept sending these long, rambling text messages, pleading with me to come back, saying she loved me, that she'd made a terrible mistake. She even tried to deny it at first, saying Greg was lying. Julia's sister, her parents, they all kept calling, too, telling me I was overreacting, that Julia was just confused. It was infuriating. They were all trying to minimize what she'd done, like it was just a little slip-up. I'd gotten my revenge, in a way. But it didn't erase the pain. I was still heartbroken, still furious. I had been planning to propose to Julia on the baby's birthday. I had this whole romantic idea in my head, a picture of our future together. Now, that future was gone. The idea of our perfect life together, the one Julia had been so desperate to maintain, was shattered. It was all a lie. I was grieving not just the loss of the relationship, but the loss of the life I thought we were going to have. The weight of it all was almost unbearable. I walked out, I had nothing more to say. I know some people reading this might think I was cruel, doing it that way, at the hospital. But let me be clear, I am damn sure that baby is not mine. She doesn't look anything like me or anyone in my family. She looks exactly like Greg. I've seen pictures of him as a baby, and the resemblance is, well, it's obvious. And about Greg, I'm not so sure he's going to suddenly become Father of the Year. He said all the right things about wanting to be involved, about his newfound faith guiding him, but I have my doubts. Time will tell, I guess. A few people asked about the scene in the hospital. Yes, there were nurses around. I didn't care. I wasn't trying to make a scene, but I also wasn't going to hide what was happening. I wasn't ashamed. Julia was the one who should be ashamed. The baby was in the NICU, but it wasn't anything serious. Just a precaution because Julia had a fever during labor. She was fine, and the baby was healthy, as far as I knew. Also, someone asked about insurance. Julia has her own insurance through her work, so that wasn't a factor in my decision. I wasn't leaving her high and dry financially. This was purely about the betrayal, the lies, the complete destruction of our relationship. After I left, Julia kept calling and texting, leaving voicemails. She kept saying, wait, like she could somehow rewind time and undo what she'd done. Then she started claiming Greg was lying, that he was obsessed with her, that he'd made the whole thing up. It was pathetic. I actually have more evidence, if I ever needed it. There are other texts, and even a video. I won't go into details, but it's pretty damning. I considered sending it to her family, just to really rub it in, but honestly, I don't want to give her any more attention. She's not worth it. I got home safely that night, by the way. I had a few drinks at the bar, but I made sure to take a taxi home. I wasn't going to do anything stupid. And to those who are judging me, saying I should have handled it differently, I say this: you have no idea what it's like to have your life ripped apart like that. To find out that the person you love, the person you planned a future with, has been lying to you for over a year, carrying another man's child. It's devastating. I did what I felt I had to do. I needed to make a clean break. I talked to Greg again after I left the hospital. He confirmed everything, again. He seemed genuinely sorry, but I still don't fully trust him. He says he wants to be a good father, and I hope, for the baby's sake, that he is. But I'm not holding my breath. I deserved what I did. Julia deserved what she got. Update 1. Okay, so it's been a little while, and a lot has happened. First things first, the paternity test. It came back, and, surprise, I am not the father. Greg is. It's official. There's no doubt anymore, not that I had any to begin with. Greg, to his credit, seems to be taking this seriously. He's been going to church regularly, volunteering at a local shelter, doing all the things a good Christian should do. He's actually been pretty excited about being a dad, which is surprising, but good, I guess. He's cleaning up the streets, feeding the homeless, and all that jazz. It's a huge change. He tells me all the time that the baby is his main priority. He shows me pictures. I gotta say, it is refreshing to see the change in him, compared to when I met him. It seems like he is telling the truth. Who knows, maybe Greg and I will even be friends someday, down the road. We're not there yet, but it's not impossible. We're connected by this child, whether we like it or not. As for Julia, well, she tried to get Greg to take her back. She wanted to be a family, but Greg wasn't having it. He told her he wanted to co-parent, to be a good father to the baby, but he had no interest in a romantic relationship with her. He said he couldn't trust her, and honestly, I don't blame him. This was also his way of making sure Julia gets her deserved karma. He refused her, not just out of anger, but because of his principles. He knows what she did was wrong, and doesn't want to give in. She ended up moving in with her mom. It seems like she doesn't have many other friends or family to lean on. I guess that's what happens when you betray everyone around you. It highlights how isolated she is, how much she's messed up her life. I actually had a conversation with Julia a few weeks ago. She came to pick up the rest of her stuff. It was awkward. She started talking about how unfulfilled she'd been in our relationship, how she felt like something was missing. I admitted that I wasn't perfect either. I probably could have been more attentive, more, something. But that doesn't excuse what she did. She had been so unhappy for such a long time. She wanted more. She wanted different. Although her actions are not right, I do get it, at least a little. I feel like maybe if she had told me, we could have tried to make things right. But she didn't. I asked her if she was truly sorry for what she did, or just sorry she got caught. She looked down at her hands, and didn't answer straight, so that in itself says a lot, I guess. I think it's more the second one. She's sorry her life blew up, but I'm not sure she really understands the pain she caused me. She started crying, and I gave her a hug. A quick, awkward, platonic hug. It was weird, but I felt like I needed to do it. I am still attached to her, even after all of this. I don't know why, but I am. After everything, I still feel a bit attached. She asked if we could be friends, if I would be willing to see the baby sometime. I told her no. I need a clean break. I can't be friends with someone who betrayed me like that. And seeing that baby, it would just be too painful. I had bought a stuffed animal for the baby, before I knew the truth. A little teddy bear. I gave it to Julia. It felt like closure, I guess. A way of saying goodbye to the future I thought we were going to have. She took it, and then she left. I watched her drive away, and that was it. I blocked her number after that. I don't want any more contact. It's over. Update 2. It's been a tough few months. I'm not going to lie, I've been depressed. My heart feels heavy, all the time. But I'm working on it. I've started going to the gym, trying to get in better shape. It helps, a little. It's a long process, healing from something like this. And there's someone new. Sort of. She's a coworker, a single mom. We've been talking, spending some time together. Nothing serious, just casual. She's nice, and it's good to have someone to talk to. I'm taking it very slow. I don't want to rush into anything. I need to focus on myself, on healing, before I can even think about a serious relationship. I don't want to bring any baggage into this new thing. I'm being very careful. She knows a little bit about what happened, but not everything. She's been very understanding, very patient. That's important to me. She's not just some random person, she has her own life, her own experiences. She has one kid. Just one. I would be okay with it. 2 or more, I would have said no. But 1 is completely okay. Being a single mom isn't a bad thing at all. I do still have interest in her. But I want to recover myself first. We've been intimate, a few times. It was her idea, actually. I'm not looking for anything serious, and she knows that. We're both on the same page. If things change, if I start feeling like I need more, or less, I'll be honest with her. That's something I've learned from all of this. Honesty is crucial. I never want to be in a situation like that again, where lies and secrets destroy everything. I have learned that the hard way. Do I regret what I did? Exposing Julia like that? No. I don't. She hurt me, deeply. She made her choices, and she has to live with the consequences. I know she's hurting, too, but frankly, I think she deserves it. I am not a bad man, and I don't feel bad for what I did. She is the cause. I am the result. I'm moving on. It's a slow process, but I'm getting there. I'm accepting that my relationship with Julia is over, completely and irrevocably over. There's no going back. I'm focusing on myself, on my own healing, and on the possibility of a new, healthier future. Maybe with this coworker, maybe not. But whatever happens, I'm determined to be okay. I will be okay. The main theme of this mess, and my main take from it, is the damage that lying can cause. Even lies told with somewhat good intentions, like Julia probably thought she was doing, end up destroying things. They always come out, eventually, and the fallout is always worse than if the truth had been told from the beginning. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've made mistakes. But I've never done anything like this. I've never betrayed someone's trust so completely. And seeing the consequences of Julia's actions, it just reinforces how important honesty is, in any relationship. As for forgiveness, I don't know if I can forgive Julia. Not yet, anyway. Maybe someday, down the road. But right now, the wound is still too fresh. I can, however, move on. I can accept that it's over, that she's not the person I thought she was, and that I deserve better. That's what I'm focusing on. Moving on, not necessarily forgiving. There's a difference. The whole idea of a perfect life, the one Julia was so obsessed with, it's a myth. It doesn't exist. Everyone has problems, everyone struggles. Trying to pretend otherwise, trying to create this false image of perfection, it's just a recipe for disaster. It's better to be real, to be authentic, even if it's messy. And Greg, his story is a reminder that people can change. I'm still not sure I entirely trust him, but he seems to be making a genuine effort. He's trying to be a good father, and that's all that really matters in the end. Redemption is possible, even after you've made huge mistakes. This new coworker, she's a question mark. I'm deliberately being cautious. I'm not trying to jump into a new relationship to fix the old one. I'm aware of the rebound trap, and I'm actively trying to avoid it. I'm being open and honest with her, telling her I need to take things slow, and she seems to understand. She's been through her own stuff, too, so she gets it. It's refreshing, actually, to be with someone who's not demanding or expecting anything from me. Ultimately, this whole experience has been a painful, but important, lesson. It's taught me about the importance of honesty, the fragility of trust, and the resilience of the human spirit. I'm still hurting, still healing, but I'm also stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to build a better future for myself. A future built on truth, not lies. And that's all I can really ask for.